Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Senate election prediction videos where I take a look at the Senate races going on across America in 2022 and give you my thoughts, analysis, and prediction on the races. And today we are looking at the state of Georgia, a seat currently held by the Democratic Party and Senator Raphael Warnock, who is at the end of his first partial term in the Senate. In 2021, on January 5th, Senator Warnock's margin of victory in the Georgia special election runoff was 2%. In 2016, Donald Trump won the state of Georgia by 5%. In 2020, Joe Biden won the state by less than a percentage point. So it was a 4% shift and a flip from red to blue. The Democratic nominee is the incumbent, Senator Raphael Warnock. Warnock won the seat, as I said, in the Georgia special runoff in 2021. Senator Johnny Isakson, the incumbent senator, had announced his retirement. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp appointed Kelly Loeffler. And in the November all-party primary, Warnock and Loeffler were the two top vote getters. And I don't have to get into all the election aftermath, but needless to say, it was messy, wild, and the day after the runoff was downright tragic. Senator Warnock won over Loeffler and has been serving in the Senate since. He is now running for a full 6-year term. Senator Warnock has been instrumental in a lot of bills' passage and has been a real outspoken advocate for voting rights and student loan debt cancellation. He was a driving force behind getting President Biden to implement that policy. So Senator Warnock has been very busy in his 2 years in the Senate. The Republican nominee is Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker attended the University of Georgia in the 1970s and 1980s. He then had a professional football career playing for the New Jersey Generals of the short-lived United States Football League and then playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Walker has lived in the state of Texas for the past 20 years. Walker has faced numerous allegations during this campaign of a sordid nature. Walker easily won the Republican primary against a field of lesser-known candidates, the most prominent of which was the state agriculture commissioner, Gary Black. But Walker had the endorsement of former President Trump and easily won the Republican nomination without a runoff. He walked away with the primary. If you take a look at the ballots cast in the primary, about 1 million ballots were cast for Republican candidates and 731,000 were cast for Democrats, so a 61-38 difference. However, there is a big asterisk beside that. Democrats had very little competitive races on their side. There was a couple of House districts that were competitive, most notably Lucy McBeth and Carolyn Broderick. But the Senate and governors and all the constitutional officers were essentially not competitive at all or weren't competitive. But on the Republican side, you had competitive primaries for Secretary of State, Attorney General. All the constitutional line officers had opponents. And in the governor's race, you had the former Senator David Perdue running against the incumbent Governor Brian Kemp. So the Republicans had very competitive statewide primaries. And that helps explain the difference. And in fact, some Democrats crossed over and voted in the Republican primary to help defeat some of the more extreme Republican candidates. How do I think this race is going to go? We need to emphasize something here. In Georgia, you have to get over 50% to avoid a runoff. In 2020, the runoff was held in January. Georgia passed a voting law in 2021 to shorten the time between the general election and the runoff. And instead of going from the general election to January, the election will be held in November, and now the primary will be held on December 6th. And I think it's going to end up in a runoff. Most of the polls show Warnock slightly ahead of Herschel Walker, but just under that 50%. And I have to think, with all the allegations swirling around Walker, that there's a lot of Republicans out there that are looking at these other Senate races going on across America, and they can't quite bring themselves to pull the lever for Warnock because they don't know what's going to happen in those other Senate races. There's a Libertarian on the ballot, so they won't vote for Walker. They won't vote for Warnock, but they'll vote for that Libertarian and send it to a runoff, and they'll make their decision in December. So I think it'll go to a runoff. I will make my prediction on the runoff if one occurs closer to it. But I do seriously believe Warnock and Herschel Walker are heading to a runoff. So no hold, no flip, none of that for this seat. Sorry to disappoint, but it's heading to a runoff.